Okay, let's go. Welcome everybody to SEO Office Hours. My name is Michael Chidzey. I'm an SEO here at Good Signals. And part of what we do, along with special guests, are these office hour sessions where people can jump in and ask their questions around their website and web search. By the way, nobody here is in the hot seat and we might not know all the answers, but multiple heads thinking about a problem should help. We have got a bunch of questions submitted already, as you can see. But if there's anybody here live on the call who would like to ask any questions, feel free to flag yourself in the chat functionality, which will be monitored. Also, there's usually a bunch of other SEOs here on the call, so feel free to share your perspectives as well. I think that's one of the best things about SEO Office Hours, isn't just the four of us talking, but everybody else sharing their thoughts, ideas, and experiences. Like every week, with me today is Juliana Turnbull, also known as SEO Joe Blogs. Morning.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Frank, Preeti, Emily, Benjamin, Naomi, Walid, Oluwato, Bilob, Boran, Nishant, Jordan, Bobby, Albert, and of course, everyone else calling in later and those watching the recording. Really happy to have today our 39th SEO Office Hours. And as Mike said, I'm Juliana Turnbull, and I'm the founder of a remote digital marketing consulting businesses called Turn Global. And we help clients in the fintech, finance, and SaaS space. We work in SEO, social media, and event/webinar management. And today, I'm really pleased to say we have Cheryl and Idris as our special guests. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Good to be here.
So really happy to have both of our guests on the show today. Cheryl has actually been a long-term member of Search London, a networking event that I've been running. And actually Dee Overfield spoke at the one in June. And actually Emily, who's on the call today, came on SEO Office Hours too. They both work at Wagada Digital. And that's where Cheryl is. She is the CEO and the founder of this multi-award-winning agency. It's Wagada Digital, and it's based in St. Albans. But they now have grown so much so that they have two other offices, including one in London. And she began the agency because she wanted to have an agency where she would have wanted to work with it as an in-house marketer. Before actually starting the company, she worked both in-house and agency side. Outside of Wagada in her free time, she's very, very busy. The president of the St. Albans Chamber of Commerce. And she also runs TEDx in St. Albans. You're very busy, Cheryl. Very impressive.
Yes, I don't know how to stop really, but yes.
And
well, can I just say, when your colleague Emily was on, Cheryl, she had just done a 70-kilometer swim. Have you done that recently?
No, I haven't had time for that. Emily was awesome with her swim. It was unbelievable. She did so well. She was very determined. She went every single day for I don't know how long.
That's very impressive. So the Emily was raising money for a charity and to swim the length of the English Channel. So thank you very much, Cheryl. I will share your details on LinkedIn so you can connect with Cheryl later, and also you can find out more about her company, Wagada, too. I'll share that in the chat. And thank you very much, Idris, for coming on the show today. Idris is an SEO manager at Not Just OK LLC. It's a media entertainment company. He also has a vast range of growth and SEO experience working in-house and agency side, and he's worked with companies like Software, Active Africa, ServiPower as well. But like Cheryl, he's also very active too outside of his day job. He is a member of the Millicent Foundation Board of Trustees. This NGO helps and runs teenage pregnancy and health programs in Lagos, Nigeria. And as well as that, he's an active member of the FCDC. This is the Freelance Coalition for Developing Countries. The FCDC provides free mentorship and continuous training for Black, Indigenous, and people of color marketers in developing countries. And they also run events too, and they also support people to come to events. So they're also a platform where people can find out more about their members. So people can go to FCDC. If you're looking for people to come and work with you, very smart individuals, go to the FCDC and you can find a lot of people working in online marketing that can help you with your business. You can also go to the FCDC, contact Chima. She set up this initiative in her own free time, and they're always looking for sponsorship You can make monthly contributions, you can sponsor someone to go to events such as Brighton SEO, or you can also sponsor different programs they're doing. They also do mentorship programs as well. So thank you very much, Idris, for joining us today. And I will share the link of your LinkedIn profile in the chat too.
Yeah, pleasure to be here, Joe. Thanks, Michael.
And I also wanted to say thank you everyone for joining us live today. We have a few more people that have joined us: Naomi, John, Isaline, Bobby, and Monse. And we have a few people calling in from different countries. I think Bobby said he's calling in from Vietnam. Moran was calling in from, I think, Bangladesh. We have a very international SEO office hours. I'm calling from Barcelona. Let us know where you're dialing in from. And if you're enjoying the show today and you would like to be part of us in the future, a special guest, we are running this. This is our 39th session. So we're going to be running this for a little bit longer. We haven't said until when. So please connect with us, message Mike. I'll share the link as well so you can be our special guest. So without further ado, I'll pass back to Mike. Thank you.
Great. You'll notice I'm somewhere different today. For those of you that like cheese, I'm in Cheddar in Somerset. So get your orders in now. Right, let's jump straight to it. The first question: we had to shift our entire blog to a new domain. We've been pumping out content for a year, and our editor is an ex-journalist, so has skills, but our traffic is hardly moved. We're prepared to keep it going for a bit longer, but at what point do we just give up? And this is an office furniture website, and they've made a point of just saying that it's very competitive and quite a tough space to rank for editorial content. Has anybody else been in this situation before? Who would like to kick off? Joe, why don't you go first?
Oh, great. I've just got the question here. For this one, I would actually have a look. I really do like Google Search Console. You get little nuggets there. If you use an API, you can actually get a lot more information too. But look and see where you have seen the drop. If you've seen a drop in traffic since this migration, look and see perhaps if there's any sort of duplicate content issues, or I would say two sites, two URLs trying to rank for the same. So you may have confusion there. I definitely wouldn't say give up. If you've done this migration, you should have had a plan. If you didn't have a plan, you can still do one. So have a look back and see, what did you do? Why did you do it? And the results, and then see if you can change that. So if you had some key topics that you wanted to write that you haven't, or maybe it's a case of you haven't actually organized your content correctly. Maybe you might need to put in the pillar page and topic cluster strategy so you can actually organize it and maybe make those pillar pages really focused for those key terms you want to rank for, or topics you want to rank for, and then you have the topic clusters to help build out that. So first of all, look at your Google Search Console, see if there's any sort of errors, and second of all, look and see where you're ranking, or if there is two pages trying to fight for the same page. And I'll pass back because I know there's quite a lot of people, a lot of our guests have a lot of information that they'd like to also share for this question.
Yeah, okay. So part of what I've seen over time when people do site migration, because I've consulted for a few, is that mapping the content correctly might actually be an issue. As I'd rightly said, look back into the history of your traffic, see the pages that are giving you traffic. But most importantly, what I find out that most people don't really pay attention to is their backlink profile. You've migrated from A to B, but you have a backlink profile. So what you want to do is go back to your backlinks and replace those links with B. Let's say you've moved from A to B and you have a lot of backlinks. So you want to make sure that you completely map the backlinks as well. So oftentimes when people do this, you might not notice increase quickly, but you will see a change in your traffic. That has been my experience.
Can I jump in here a bit? I think I'd want to identify whether the problem was caused by the fact that it was a domain migration, or whether the site didn't rank very well in the first place. I think if you've been going for a year and nothing's really moving, I think it's time to do some sort of fundamental change. I don't think you should stop, but I think there definitely needs to be a fundamental change in strategy. I think someone's just made a comment on the chat, which I thought was really interesting, about having a proper content strategy. And I think it can be, I think journalists can write amazing content. They don't always focus their content around specific keywords that people are searching for. So I'd really want to be digging down into those long tail keywords, really finding out what people searching for, it generally tends to be people's problems rather than their solution. I think we always focus our websites around the solution, whereas actually it's often the problems that people are searching for. So really thinking about what are those key phrases, those problems that people are searching for, that the journalist can then write content around that might then actually get picked up by Google.
Great. Idris, you look like you were going to say something else during that. Did you want to add anything? No? Okay, cool. I was thinking when I saw this question and they said that they specialize in the office furniture space, I think that's a tough place for a journalist just keep writing content over the year. And I would probably look back at some of the stuff they've already written and see if they can make it better. And like Joe was saying, get into Search Console and see if it's actually ranking for anything. I think that's probably would be my starting point, to look in Search Console and see, is there actually a problem, or is it just that maybe other posts and bits of content are better? So if it's not ranking at all for anything, then obviously that suggests that there's some sort of technical issue. And like Cheryl was saying, if it was ranking before when it was on the previous domain for things and getting traffic, maybe there's some sort of issue there with moving that entire blog over. But the other thing might just be come up with creative ideas, make the content more interesting, think about things outside of SEO. So although this is SEO office hours, maybe social and stuff like that. Like Idris was saying around links, you could come up with some campaigns. We did something years ago, which was when I read this question, I thought of, which was for a corporate events company. Probably couldn't do this now, but at the time we challenged our office intern to hitchhike from London to Germany with his office chair and take part in the office chair racing world championships. And we covered the whole thing and it was so much fun. He came like 27th, but part of it was actually finding which chair, for instance, should he use and all that. And you could make the content really interesting for people really into office furniture. But I guess, like Cheryl was saying as well, thinking about the content strategy and thinking about what, if this is about trying to rank for terms that are popular, trying to actually put a really solid content strategy together around what people are looking for and making sure it's the best possible option. In terms of it, what point do you give up? Is this the best way to spend your time, or should you be spending that time on creating interesting campaigns about the main website and the main brand versus the blog? And I guess it's, what is the purpose in the blog in the first place? Because I guess it's not really to get traffic, it's probably to get traffic and then get sales. And so you might be better off, for instance, looking at those same terms that you're trying to rank for and seeing what else ranks. And if it's like a Wired magazine article or something about the top office chairs or top desks, I would be chatting to that journalist and trying to get them to come and try out these chairs or whatever it is and see if you can get yourself into that in some way. Joe, have we had any comments, or anybody else have anything else to add?
Yes, we do. Actually, I just had one other thought that we didn't mention. Just like if you see someone that's doing it really well, like, I don't know, IKEA, perhaps take a leaf out of their book. I know it's all about all different furniture, but how they've done it is really good. And also, just if we trying to move away from just trying to get the traffic from organic, if there's anybody that you can team up with in terms of office furniture, there's a lot more co-working spaces that maybe you could supply to, and maybe you could also do some more things around ergonomics. So this is like a Pacific chair for when you're sitting. There's a lot of chairs that are not good. So if you're doing one specifically for people that also are sitting down all the time, that maybe people don't prioritize their back, which they should be, maybe you could actually be selling that, and the fact that if you don't look after your back now, more part of the health side of things. And we do have a lot of people in the chat, and thanks everyone. We've got a lot of people dialing in also. It's International SEO Office Hours, Kenya, Nigeria, dialing in from Pakistan, India as well here. So go to some of the chats. Thanks everyone for being so interactive. Preeti saying she needs to get an office chair. Hers is broken. Okay, so many, because when someone puts something in the chat, it drags it down. So 1 minute, please. Okay, so just perhaps asking the question back to the person that asked it. Did they consult with a specialist? If they did this or not, what the recommendations would have been. So just have a look at that. So as I said before, I'll go back to why you did it. Also, John saying, have they shifted the blog onto a subdomain so they have 2 sites? Because I don't think that was clear. We didn't say that. That's a good point. Also, just journalist skill alone won't generate the SEO traffic. Good one, Albert. To boost traffic, a proper content strategy, like we have been saying, should be created and sent to the writer to have positive impact on the users. Simon actually showed something around with Google Trends for the UK. That was very interesting, actually, to see that. I actually did a bit further back. And over, of course, 5 years, office furniture has actually gone down a lot because people are working from home. Maybe you could try and, expand your content, be like home office furniture, or maybe furniture that you can fold away, like the desks that you can fold away, because not everyone has the luxury to have a study all the time. So they'll need to put it down when they use the room for their children or vice versa. So maybe you can actually think about your furniture that way. Another person saying that, Simon's saying, actually suspect it's all about intent. Office furniture content will all be about price and functionality, very little else. So there's little you can write about unless you're actually manufacturing office furniture. I think that you could also do about how your office furniture could be suitable for home office, not taking up loads of space. You could also do it, as I said, about supporting your back. It could be things like even footrests are very important as well. So think about that as well for your office furniture. Sorry, there's a few more comments, loads of comments here. If you're a manufacturer, you have a lot more to write about. So actually, we didn't find out, do they sell it or do they just manufacture it? That's a good point. If you manufacture it, you could actually do more furniture and you could actually have a lot more to write about. So thanks, everyone. Loads of comments in the chat here. So summary seems to be content strategy.
You're so right, Joe, on the ergonomics. I remember when COVID happened or started and we started going into lockdown, the amount of research I did into my home office chair was ridiculous. So I think that people do that, don't they?
Yeah, they're quite expensive investments, so people are going to spend a bit of time
exactly.
into them.
Next question. And remember, if you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat. The next question is, what role does social media play in SEO and how can bloggers leverage it to boost their rankings? I'm pretty sure I've heard this on not this office hours, but other office hours before. Idris, what do you think? Social media, how do you use it to help with your rankings?
Distribution, content distribution, it's a complementary game. We have clients everywhere. We have users everywhere. We have users who start their journey online. We have users who are basically on Instagram. That's where they are, and that's where they want the content served to them. So I think all you need to do is use social media as a complementary strategy, because there's search in these channels as well. Instagram has its own search, TikTok has its own search, and some people just go to Google. So for me, it's pretty much just content distribution, and they offer backlinks as well. It may be no follow, but then it's still something, because if you are not getting authority from backlink, you can get traffic. So that's basically how we use it at Not Just Okay.
Great. Cheryl, what about you? Thoughts in terms of how do you use social media to help boost your rankings?
I think one of the biggest changes that I've probably seen in SEO over the past 10 years is the shift from SEO being more about brand building these days. And I think what Google wants to see is that you're building your brand and you have an authoritative and a quality brand. And that's one thing that social is really brilliant at doing for you. So like Idris was saying, it's great for bringing traffic into your website. I think it's a great way of building your brand and increasing the number of brand name searches. And I'm sure that impacts on rankings to some extent, is the amount of times people are actually Googling your own brand name. That will reflect on how authoritative you are and how interested people are in what you're doing. And I think it's great for, like Idris was saying, it's great for backlinks, but not just getting links from social, the sort of more valuable links where you can connect with other businesses, where you can collaborate with them and get links that way. And I remember back in the day, we used to have a wedding furniture client, and we used to build a lot of relationships with other wedding companies on Twitter. And we used to use that as an opportunity to support us in potentially writing blogs on their website, collaborating, selling our services at the same time that they were selling theirs. And that's a really great strategy for kind of building our backlink profile.
Amazing. Joe, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'd like to just share some of the comments first. So Jordan saying that engagement signals and hopefully opportunities for backlinks. So what Cheryl said, if you are finding something on social media, perhaps you may actually be sharing that post that that person talked about, or you may be actually sharing that actual website as well. We've also have Munyenye talking about start relying only on Google to drive traffic. Yes, that's true, because in this day and age, everyone's shaking things up. Well, Google is shaking things up, naughty Google. So it's basically great to try and expand your network And another one is basically have a community. So Cheryl was talking about the wedding chairs. So if you're in selling something online, try and have partners with other people, try and get referrals away that way. Also, if you're working with bloggers, or I guess they're called influencers now, work with them. They have a lot of visibility and they can help to promote your brand, but only be on the social media if you've got the time to build up, if you've got the time to actually help with building up a community, if you've got time to interact with people. It's not just about pushing out content. So Priti was talking about social media doesn't particularly have anything to do with when it comes to SEO, but it's important to be there because that's where your users are, if of course they are there. Monsi actually said that social media comments appear in the SERPs, so there should be enough to persuade marketers to dispute there. Don't put your eggs in one basket, so helping everything comes just from the one search engine as well. And we also have a comment from Albert was talking about if something goes viral, it maybe lead to increased brand mentions and brand searches. So that's a good idea. People are now more inclined to watch these short videos or reels, as we call it, rather than to read text posts. So reels actually is a big thing both in Instagram and also video YouTube short reels. They're a big thing for 2023. There was a big study in HubSpot about that. Simon's always joking. It's great. He said, boost your blog rankings by writing about SEO tricksters having parties for the content goblins with an alligator. Or maybe a crocodile if you're in Australia. He's referring to, there was a Verge story that you can see in the chat. Yeah, Jordan's also saying that sometimes social media posts would appear in the SERP features through feature snippets. They're in position 2. So someone might see that and click on it, so that could help. And speaking of eggs, Priti's saying, don't keep them in the same basket for long because they could go bad.
I quickly want to add this, that I think social signal is also a thing. Social signal in that when people are interacting with your content, they get recommended on search as well. Because if you have a post on social media that has a lot of likes, comments, and all of that, it's a pointer to Google that it is relevant and sometimes get recommended on search. I've seen that many times.
I was actually going to say the opposite, where I find that sometimes if something does really well on social, doesn't mean it's going to do well on SEO and vice versa. On some occasions where I've noticed that, where you think, oh, this is getting loads of traffic, you put it out on social and it's just absolutely dies, and vice versa. But I think it's really good that the person asking the question is even thinking about both, because often when I start working with a business and I say we tend to work more on the SEO and content side, we don't really do social media, and that tends to be a separate team. However, we still want to talk together and we want to work out whatever we're doing. Can you reuse this? Can you turn these into things that you can use on social media? And vice versa, are there any interesting campaigns that you're working on that we can turn into interesting content for people that get to the website? So it's really good that they're doing that. But I think I agree with everybody, though. I don't really have anything else apart from that to add. So I think unless we've got anything else to add, Joe, from the chat, we'll jump on to the next question.
Yeah, let's jump into the next one. We've got loads of questions today.
Yes, we have. Okay. Our website's purpose is to generate inquiries for our portable toilet hire business. We cater for festivals, events, markets, schools, and beyond, offering nationwide coverage. The product remains consistent, but search queries vary. And they've given us some examples. So portable toilet hire, Surrey, outdoor toilets for Norwich, etc. Now in AdWords, they direct users to tailored landing pages. How can they achieve this for SEO without creating a ton of duplicate content issues? Has anybody been through this? Cheryl, you were nodding. Is this something that you've had experience with?
Yes, I think I've been working in SEO long enough to remember the days where we would have had separate pages for every single keyword, plus every single location. And I remember when the algorithm change came in, that stopped working. And there was a really interesting case study I saw, the eHow website, which I'm not sure still exists now, but they had 90 pages on how to boil an egg, all in different ways, of how to boil an egg in a camping stove, how to boil an egg in 2 minutes, and literally 1,000,001 ways to say exactly the same thing. And I think at that point, the change that occurred is that rather than creating 100 different pages to say exactly the same thing, we were encouraged to create fewer pages, but that were longer and juicier, had more content on them, that were highly valuable rather than they're purely for SEO purposes. Having said that, we do see there are definitely certain industries where location landing pages still work. And I think that's the key thing with location landing pages, that you absolutely have to test them, because in some industries they do still work and they do still bring value, and in other industries we found that they don't. And I think the difference is whether those pages can actually add value to what you're offering. And I think the portable toilet hire business, there potentially could be an argument for testing out location landing pages, because at the end of the day, if you want to hire portable toilets for your festival, you want to do that from someone nearby. You don't want to hire those from 50 miles away, because that's going to cost you more money than getting it from your local supplier. So I think my advice in that case would be to choose the best keyword, whether that's portable toilet or outdoor toilets, and use that as the primary keyword for the page, but identify location landing pages where you can actually add value. So thinking about what can you put on those pages that is high quality content. So it might be that if in Surrey you do lots of festivals, name the festivals that you've worked with, get testimonials from those people. Just think about ways that you can actually write content that is interesting to read and can actually bring value to people.
Those are very good points. And I just want to clarify to those that are not in the UK. So Surrey is a county and then Norwich is a city. So if you'll have, of course, different search, you'll vary in terms of search queries, depending on if it's a county or if it's a city or a town. But yeah, thank you, Cheryl. I'll pass back over to Idris. You look like you wanted to say.
Just fantastic submission. I think doing the location thing is one. The other thing I am thinking on the top of my head is to do a bit of use case scenario, portable toilet business. It will be nice to also have pages that talks about the use case scenario. What events are they used for? Pages that resonate with the need for your business. Then also, I think these kinds of business, this particular one, I think at the top of my head, the people that will be interested in that service will be event planners, right? So unless maybe Michael wants to host a bunch of people and you want portable business, portable toilets at your place, and you want that to be there.
There's going to be no toilets and parties at my place. Thank you very much.
But I see this business resonating with event planners. So I think it will be nice to just reach out to them. Referrals are great. I tell people, before you start any business, try and know the potential opportunities that are there in terms of users, in terms of referrals and all of that. But this kind of business, I see it really, really thriving from the referral standpoint of view. Reach out to event planners, collaborate with them, and tie your business to their needs in terms of location, in terms of use cases, so that when they are thinking about portable toilet for birthday or for a naming ceremony or something like that, your page pops up.
Great. I think it's one of those things that obviously with AdWords, you get what you pay for. So if you've got the budget to pay for ads in all these different places, then that's how that works. What I would basically do is start with thinking about, does it actually make sense that I rank for Norwich, Surrey, Edinburgh, Sydney, wherever it is that you want to rank for? And for those places that it genuinely makes sense that you are the best that offer this particular service in that place, then I would optimize your site. However, if there's a particular location, a bit like Cheryl was saying, makes sense, a festival is going to hire, or somebody organizing an outdoor wedding wants to hire a portable toilet, they will go local. But forgetting for a second the portable toilet business, and even just thinking about my own business, in AdWords, yes, we could rank for SEO agency Edinburgh, but it doesn't really make sense in organic. I don't even think we should rank number one for SEO agency London, if that makes sense, despite the fact that we are, because there are bigger agencies that offer more services and have tons more people and so on. So rather than just because you can sell these toilets to those cities or counties, I would think, are you actually the best people to do that. And like Cheryl was saying, if there is a particular area that you are the go-to for festivals and weddings and so on, maybe have a case studies page or have something that kind of shares with testimonials and shares the actual festivals and venues that you tend to do those things. And like Idris was saying, you could build a relationship with those venues. For example, if they have a section on their website about you can organize your wedding in the grounds of this particular venue, these are our kind of go-to suppliers. That's not really from an SEO point of view. I guess you might get a backlink or something there, but actually it's more just if somebody's organizing a wedding in that venue and that's the service they need, then it makes sense to reach out to them and try and feature on there. So yeah, my feedback would be, rather than have this sort of objective and strategy in place to try and rank for all of these different towns and cities and counties, I would think, does it make sense? Are you the biggest? Do you have the capacity? All of those things. And for those that, you know, you think you do, because it might just be one county and therefore you could optimize your entire website for that area and just focus on doing a really good job there. And sure, with AdWords, you might get extra inquiries for these other location pages. If you have these other location pages, I'm guessing they must be no index or rel canonical at the moment, because it sounds like you've got some already, but they're not. So it sounds like you've done a lot of the work, but they're just no index at the moment, which probably makes sense if you don't want to flood the internet with just exactly the same pages. I've worked with a few event and travel companies. So I've gone down the route of the locations that they organize travel to or organize events in tend to have location pages with the different activities and case studies and so on. And when we've done that, we've always made sure that those pages genuinely deserve to rank. They have unique content. So if you went to their, say, corporate events London page, it feels and looks very different to their Birmingham one, where you've got different activities, different venues, all of that kind of stuff. But I think if the product's consistent, it's going to be really hard to do that apart from the type of festivals. Joe, do we have any better advice than me from the chat?
No, that was good advice. Very good advice. So Albert was actually talking about have continuous updates on your location profile. So on your Google My Business profile, I think it's always very important to keep getting those reviews, because then people can also see where are you if you don't have specific location pages. Jordan's talking about, I think we mentioned this as well, but identifying where the people are, where your inquiries are coming from. So maybe if they are coming from a specific region, you could potentially do a landing page for that. But as Cheryl said, only do it if it adds value. Simon's making a little joke in the chat here. Naughty Simon. But look at what your competition is doing and how are they managing that. Walid was actually talking about a different approach. Create different landing pages like weddings, festival, construction, or corporate events. Potentially. Didn't really think about that. And then you could build out from there. So great. Loads of chat. Thank you very much. And we're more than halfway through. We've got 3 questions down. I wanted to say thank you to everyone for joining us and those that are watching the recording. If you would like to be on SEO Office Hours as a special guest or join us in the audience, please sign up on Good Signals, and then Mike will add you to the calendar invite. I've just shared it in there, but it's also going to be in the description. goodsignals.com, SEO Office Hours. And over to you, Mike. We've done 3 questions. We got loads more.
The process for being added to the calendar is quite manual. It's not very slick. It's very much comes through to me and I'll just add you on. But yeah, it's not that cool. Okay, next question. So this one is about internal linking. So in the start, our internal linking to our website was not very good. And so they've basically done some research, and based on that research, they've tried to improve their internal linking, and it's actually increased clicks and impressions to their website. And for them, it's been a bit of a game changer. And what they want to know is actually that they want to avoid over optimization with internal linking. And so is that a thing? And what do we recommend here? So any thoughts on, can you go over the top with over-optimizing internal links? Go for it, Cheryl.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I think from a user experience point of view, it can be a bit distracting when there's like a million internal links and it makes you think, am I supposed to click on this link? What am I supposed to do? So I think you should really be quite careful in the internal linking and make sure that it's valuable and it serves a purpose. But I think the value that you get from internal linking is very much helping Google to understand the hierarchy of the website and really pass the relevancy of one sort of keyword onto another. And I think Joe was talking a bit earlier on about pillar pages and that sort of thing. And that's a way that you can organize your site where the internal links very much reflect the content and the hierarchy of the content.
Great. Idris, do you have anything to add?
For me, I think Cheryl, she has said it all. It's more like building topical authority for your pages. Over optimization, as she rightly said, you don't want too many links. It could be really, really distracting to have too many internal links on one page. So you want to do that carefully. But internal linking is very positive to SEO rankings. It has worked so many times. So just keep it a bit. Don't overdo it, but you should do it.
So I would say then, yeah, you need a plan. This could be part of your content strategy. If you do need help with internal linking, Links is a great platform to use that will help you to identify what entities you have within your pages, and then you can actually put that into practice. But I would also take a step back and think, what do I want to link to? Don't think about SEO, think about, okay, from the users, where do you want people to come to afterwards? I do quite like the latest posts that you see on blogs or also on some category pages as well. That's always very useful. Again, Simon mentioned this, but it's really good to look at what your competitors are doing. How does that work with them? Because nobody wants to have like loads of links on a page and different calls to action. See what the competitors are doing, but really start from the beginning and think, okay, what's my objective? Put it as part of the content strategy and then implement slowly. Use other tools as well, of course, to help you. I do recommend InLinks.
Great. I want to pick up on the UX point that Cheryl made, because one thing I do is I like watching users on a website and just seeing how they use it and how they interact with it. And tools like Microsoft Clarity or Hotjar or Full Story or any of those will basically show you if people are trying to click text or sections of your site that basically aren't links. And that can be a good way of trying to work out if you've got lots of rage clicks or you happen to see users doing that and they can't get through, or they're expecting to go somewhere, then that can be a good way of discovering where to add internal links. But one thing I always think of, years ago, every other word quite easily put loads of internal links. But in terms of internal linking, I always think if somebody was to read this blog post or this commercial page and they see this link and they click it, would they expect what they're going to see on the other side of it? And if that's a yes, then it makes sense. If you're just trying to fit something in there just because you think it's going to help from an SEO perspective, I wouldn't bother doing that. I think internal links are really important to help you help users and search engines understand what another page is about. But yeah, I wouldn't overdo it, especially from your commercial pages and stuff. You want to get people there, not the other way around. Joe, do we have any comments or should we go to the next question?
No, I think we've covered quite a few things, but thanks everyone for your questions on here. Let's go to the next question. Question 5.
Super. So since I'm not an SEO expert, everybody asks how to be safe from a Google update. What is the best possible answer for them? So I'm guessing this is somebody working internally and they're being asked maybe by bosses or other people on the team about, they've heard about this update and how do we make sure we're safe? What's the answer? Who would like to kick off? Joe, you've raised your hand. Go for it.
They should come on SEO office hours regularly and then they can find out loads of information, just putting the chat in here. We've talked about a few things already in the SEO office hours. First of all, making sure that you are diversifying where you're getting your traffic from. You do the same with your revenue if you're a business. So diversify your traffic. Don't always rely on one method, one channel, the search engine. Look and see if you can partner with others. Do a bit of paid search, optimize your brand in social media too. I would say that's one of the ways to be safe from Google updates. And the other ways, obviously, Cheryl and Idris will talk about more detail, but one of them is to create the content and have your site in the best possible position against these Google updates. So have your tech SEO in order and make sure your content is interesting, diverse, and also not created for the sake of trying to generate specific rankings for just one keyword. Preeti's talking about, does carrying an umbrella count? Interesting.
Always a good idea. I think you hit the nail on the head with that, Joe, because I think if you think about what the goal is of Google, it's very much about offering high quality search results. So actually, if everything you do on your website is really high quality, you have high quality content, you have your tech SEO in a great place, then you should be as protected as you possibly can against the majority of Google updates.
Great. Idris, have you got any thoughts?
Nothing. I think everyone has spoken well.
Great. The only thing I would add, so I called our business Good Signals, and it's just about just doing the right stuff. So that makes sense for your business, for your customers, for people online, not necessarily just for search engines, whether it's doing something local from a PR perspective or writing really good content, or like Joe was saying, making sure the technical side, that's not necessarily relevant to a core update, but that's more about the overall quality of your site. But if you're always evolving your website in the right way, then you shouldn't have to really worry too much about core updates.
Yeah,
Okay.
Just on one last point from your end, like don't cut corners. So I think with SEO, maybe people just think it's like free traffic and it's just going to get there. That you're just going to get it wherever. You don't need to allocate the resource to it. But no, you do need to spend time on it. You need to make sure that you actually are not doing things for a quick win, that your website represents your brand, your product or service in the best possible way.
Great. Okay, so this is a little bit related. Somebody's got a new job and therefore they're working on a new website. And so their question is, what's the biggest challenge that you face when doing SEO? Basically, how to not make a mistake. Can we share any lessons learned from any sort of failures or anything like that we've done before? Joe, how do you fancy going first?
Quelle surprise! In terms of the biggest challenge, I think, is getting buy-in. And I think perhaps that's because a lot of people don't admit that they don't know something. So especially if talking to the C-level, and if you're using like technical terms, they may not want to ask you, oh, what does that mean? So really try and use things in layman terms. So if you're if you're in a new job, this is a great opportunity for you to start afresh. And so you can see what's been working in the past, what hasn't, and have meetings with these stakeholders and to put everything in layman's terms. Oh, for example, the website's not doing well because it has these errors. We are going to solve them by X, Y, and Z, and then we shall see X amount of increase in traffic. So always try and do it in a type of a situation action yield. Say, what is the situation, what you're going to do, and if you can, forecast the results. But try and give yourself the time, because you're new to the job, to actually see what's worked, what are the challenges, and speak to everyone in the department who have tried something in the past, because you don't want to be reinventing the wheel. See what's done in the past, what didn't work, and then do something different. But give yourself the time to do that and make sure that you do write and present in layman terms.
Joe, I think you've done a fantastic submission. Then the other thing for me is SEO has a lot of moving parts and it is really tasky to keep up. So you have to constantly, your hairs on the ground, your feet on the ground, everything, roll up your sleeve. It's always evolving, has a lot of moving parts, like as I rightly said. So you really want to just take things slowly, always have a plan, very, very important, and open to collaboration. Come to events like this to get insights, and I wish you the best.
I was joking what I put in the chat, by the way. My advice is actually the opposite to that, which is basically avoid any knee-jerk reactions. Just like Joe was saying, take time, learn about the business and so on, and make considered decisions and changes. Avoid just saying yes to whoever's asking you to do what. And if you read something in one of the SEO publications, for example, don't just do that and then realize, that's not actually what that person said. Take your time, put together plans. And for instance, even for things like blog posts, we'll do creative briefs for those, just to make sure we've thought about every different avenue, done loads of research and so on. And think about when you are doing something, how you do it consistently, so you don't do all these things at once and then end up not doing them again. I've got lots of old social media accounts where it's like, oh, there's this new network, let's try this out, and then it's just a graveyard. So don't do things like that. That would be my advice. Joe, have we got any comments?
We do. Yeah, that's great advice. I like that, the graveyard. Alan saying that his reporting manager and then that person's reporting manager and that boss on top of him or her has a budget for PPC, but expect magic results from SEO. So I have found this in many cases as well. Working agency side, you get a massive budget for PPC and very small for SEO. So you're in a new job. I would say encourage people to come and do an SEO workshop and have them come and join you. Find a time that works for everyone. And then once you have the interest, have that. And I think if people can understand it and appreciate that it takes time. We had a great comparison last week or maybe the week before with one of our special guests about if you're going to the gym. Ahmad, I think he mentioned you're going to be doing it consistently and then you'll see the results. But if you just start to think, oh, I'm going to the gym for the weekend, I'm going to get my six-pack abs, probably not going to happen if you're just still eating the ice cream as per normal. So I think that's a good question that Alan's raised. So make sure that you have that you have actually time to do a workshop as well. Monty's talking about find allies as well, and also just talk and listen to make friends, especially with the IT, data, and finance teams. And Monty's saying don't do workshops at the beginning. Well, it depends really on the situation. I found workshops help quite well, but there's loads of things here. And obviously, we have some nice little jokes like Jordan's talking about buy 1,000 links for $1. And maybe index the whole website, pretty second, of course, joke. But just make sure you just give yourself the time. This is it. Everyone thinks you got to get into the new job and do everything really quickly. But this is the only time that you actually have to really assess what's worked well, not worked well, and make those friends, allies. And I'd suggest you do some workshops and explain to people what SEO is about.
Well, one thing that I would add is I'm a logger. I like to record what I'm doing. So I keep a work journal and I log everything that I do for different clients and so on, because it's so easy to forget all the things you've done. And then when you get to the end of the month and you make a list of these are the different things we've been working on and this is the impact so far, and then in 3 months' time you do the same thing, I find that really, really helps. Because when you're in the day-to-day sort of things, you forget how much you've actually done. So make sure you log and think how you can do even more and get better. Does anybody have anything else to add before we jump to the last question? No? Perfect. Okay, so our final regular question. What are you most excited about from an SEO perspective? Cheryl, what are you most excited about at the moment?
I'm really excited about the new AI overviews that are appearing on search and the effect that they're going to have on the way users are interacting with search. I think for me, I'm very busy, so I love the fact that you can get you get different opinions and you can get a really lovely summary of your question right there in the search results. I find that really, really useful. And you see it as well in the, the AI summaries of the Amazon reviews, which are just so helpful. As it says things like, users have found that the tool is very effective when used in these circumstances. And it just shows you having to read all the reviews. I just find that really useful, actually, and really interesting. And the fact that I think search is going to become a lot more conversational. And I love the way that you can actually have a conversation with something like ChatGPT. You can say, no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted something more like this. And I think being able to get more out of your search engine because you can be more specific about what you want to get out of it, I think is really useful.
Amazing. Idris, what are you most excited about at the moment in terms of SEO?
Yeah, I'm excited to see how other SEOs are going to adjust to the new paradigm shift. Google has thrown a lot of things to our face, and oftentimes we end up doing a lot of things, come up with solutions, innovation, and which at the end of the day, Google also take that as feedback to improve what they are doing. So I'm always excited to see how SEOs and other people are working together to overcome these challenges. AI is a threat to a lot of business, and it's an opportunity for others. So I like to see how that plays out. And on the other side, also excited about the idea of entity SEO. A lot of people are doing that right now, and it's interesting to see how they are getting results. I think that's pretty much it from my side.
Great. Joe, what are you most excited about at the moment?
Events, of course. International Search Summit in November in Barcelona. That's going to be a great event. And also, I'm looking to do a Search London online event, and I like to have people that have joined us to ask them what works well for you. Is it a lunchtime session? Lunchtime as in GMT, BST time, or an evening session? Please connect with me on LinkedIn and let me know, because last time I did some online sessions, we didn't have loads of people, and I'd like to do an interactive Search London online. So I'll leave my LinkedIn and look forward to hearing from some of you.
Amazing. So we've just launched a thing called the Good Signals Accountability Club. I'll share it there. If anyone has any feedback, I'm quite excited about that at the moment. So not from an SEO perspective, I don't need to hear about the technical issues and so on. But if anybody has any feedback on the idea, I'd love to hear it. But I'm very excited about that at the moment. Great. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much to our speakers today. Thank you so much to Joe for co-hosting. Thank you to those that joined us live. Thank you to those that are watching afterwards on YouTube. And thank you to those who have submitted questions. And we'll see you next week. Have an amazing weekend. The sun's shining, so hopefully it is where you are. And see you next Friday.
Thank you very much to everyone who's joined, and thank you to our special guest. Thank you, Mike.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.